Hey guys, this is AJ from the Nerf Herder Council. If you want to hear the Nerf Herder Council live from Star Wars Celebration in Orlando this April, help us spread the word. Share the show, post a review, give us those likes, and get us out there to all your friends. Thanks so much, and may the Force be with you.
Warning. The following podcast contains irreverent humor, exceptionally nerdy opinions, potential cursing, and plenty of love for the prequels. If any of the preceding offends you, please turn off this podcast immediately, and may the Force be with you.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder!
You can't use that word. Only we can use that word.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate, featuring your hosts, JT. I mean, they killed his mother. What's he supposed to do? Send him a postcard? I wish you wouldn't have done that. AJ.
I'm on Facebook, man! Hey, Mom, check me out!
Steve.
Where did Ewok number 5 walk off to after the end of episode 6? They want that crap explained to them, dude.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, we compare The Force Awakens with Rogue One. Which one feels more like Star Wars? What did they get right, and what did they get wrong?
This is the Nerf Herder Council.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. Back with me, as they always are, AJ and Steve.
Well, not always.
Okay, well, most of the time.
Yeah, about 92% of the time.
It's got to be higher than 92%.
Sure.
Do you want me to do the math, or do you want to go on with the show?
No, let's do the math. Let's just sit here in silence as AJ figures it out.
That would be absolutely riveting. Hey, man, can you bust out the calculator and find out exactly what percentage of the time?
Hold on, let me get my slide rule.
Nice. I have an abacus. Let's figure this out.
That goes along with that soundbite you were playing before the show. But anyways, thanks for tuning in again. Doing something kind of different tonight. We're trying out our Spreaker live page for the first time, seeing how that works. And hopefully it goes better than all the other things we've tried for a first time. Because usually it's a giant cluster. So let's hope this is not more of the same.
Well, we pay for live streaming, so let's give it a shot. Why not?
Right?
Right. Somebody will listen to it.
But fair warning, we're too cheap to pay for the full 3-hour live stream package. So the live listeners, you're only going to get 45 minutes before this thing cuts off. If you want more, send us money.
Yeah. Write a check, too.
Literally, we can't afford the hosting fees to get up to that package level.
So before we get into tonight's topic, I had a real quick question. I don't want to dwell on it too much because we're a few weeks past. But I forgot to ask you guys when we recorded last, did you guys get any Star Wars stuff for Christmas?
The Star Wars Christmas question. I was hoping you were going to get onto this.
Well, I figured I got that gigantic, amazing Millennium Falcon, so I had to ask.
How is that going, by the way?
It's going good. I haven't been able to build in a week, but I got almost the entire base of it done.
I texted AJ a few days ago and with a picture, and I simply said at the bottom, I hate you for telling me about this website because there's so many things I want to buy on there now. I want that Super Star Destroyer. That thing is as big as this damn table, dude, and it's only $139 with shipping.
You're addicted to the Chinese Star Wieners Lego set.
Yes. Give me dude, I don't even care. Give me minifigures with the little closed eyes. I don't care, dude. Those are amazing prices. Dude, that is so awesome. And I'm going to spend so much money on that website. It's not even funny.
That is going to be my vehicle for getting the old Star Destroyer Ultimate Collector Series. That thing is it's the same size as the Super Star Destroyer, but because it's a much taller design, it takes up even more room. It's totally impractical. I don't even know where I'd put that thing when I build it, but that's, down the road.
Hang it from the ceiling with fishing with hooks from the ceiling and fishing line.
I could.
I thought about doing that with my Falcon.
Dude, they were smart enough on that one to build it so they give you a little scale Tantive 4 to go with it. And there's two
Really?
mounting points. You can either post it off the side so you can get a good side-by-side size comparison, or you can clip it down from the docking bay where they actually capture the thing. So you could do that. You could have like a Star Destroyer hanging above your ceiling there and have the Tantive 4 like getting sucked in with the tractor beam, like held in place.
Or you could hang the Star Destroyer and then hang the Tantive 4 in front of it and then have it like the chase.
Oh, that'd be badass.
That Star Destroyer comes with a little Tantive 4 that's probably like scale size to it. So it's like
It is exactly what it is,
2
yeah.
inches long. That's going to be the coolest little thing. And I do not have room for it, but I really don't care. I need to own it though.
I told you that's a slippery slope because they put the Death Star 2 out with a scale Super Star Destroyer next to it. And then they put out the Super Star Destroyer with a scale Star Destroyer next to it. And then they put the Star Destroyer out with a scale Tantive 4 next to it. And you can also get the Tantive 4.
Okay, so before we get into Legos, because no one gives a crap about Legos but us.
I do.
So, what? All right, AJ, what did you get Star Wars wise?
I got Legos.
Let's get off of the Legos.
There it is. You got?
No, I got other stuff too.
Yeah.
My girlfriend knows me well. I got the
Legos.
Black Series, not the Death Trooper. She got me I think the hover tank pilot or another short trooper. Short trooper captain. That's right.
Okay.
Short trooper captain and Death Trooper t-shirt, which was awesome. And then one Star Wars Lego set. I got the Krennic's shuttle.
Oh, very cool.
Which is another ship that is too damn big to fit anywhere. Those wings are so huge. We can't, it doesn't fit on a bookshelf. It doesn't fit on top of anything because if you fold the wings up, it's too tall. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with that thing, but it's cool because now I have a little Lego K2SO and we're a Lego family. So we also got the Parisian restaurant from the modular building series of theirs. And right now Krennic is having a nice creme brulee flanked by Death Troopers. Who
of course he has to be flanked by Death Troopers.
Yeah, who are having a fondue and Cherry's Jubilee. Little do they know that Bodhi Rook and Pow are chilling in the apartment upstairs.
Who's Pow?
That's the big mouth guy that was leading the troops on the shores at the Battle of Scarif, the alien dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Who knew Death Troopers were so well refined and had such far-reaching tastes?
Right, they're dining at Ches Albert.
Ches.
It's the things you don't know, that they turned into the Empire or the normal stormtroopers after that, after Rogue One and the Death Star plans.
They show the Death Troopers going home and they've got like Renaissance art on the walls and everything.
They were all
burning
refined
incense.
until those Death Star plans got taken.
Right. Now you are forgetting you're forgetting one thing. The luggage tag.
That is, oh yes, I'm sorry. She also capped it off with a couple stocking stuffers. I got a luggage tag with R2-D2 and C-3PO on it.
I have a Boba Fett one.
And a Stormtrooper lanyard. Both are celebration specific items because she knows, I got to travel. So let's get the luggage tag and the ticket lanyard.
Awesome. Steve, what did you get?
I got the awesome Stormtrooper bus that we talked about a couple weeks ago. I got Legos. I got the Han and the carbonite freezing chamber kit chilling over there right on the top of the stack. Nice little kit. Nice
That's
little
awesome.
build there.
Yeah, that Stormtrooper bust you got is really cool.
Yeah, that thing's awesome. I love that thing.
And solid.
Yeah, that thing,
it
it's
is.
heavier than I thought it would be for something that's just like a head and torso.
And then I built myself my Lego Sandcrawler like a week ago as a present to myself. I've had it for like a year or two, but it was built and then it went into a box and then AJ built it and then it went into a box and then I built it again.
Every time I see that thing, in my head, it just goes bum, 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 like I just hear that music.
All I actually just think about was it the Robot Chicken one when they did the Grey Poupon.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why that's the first thing that pops into my head. That or Family Guy when they jumped it over the sand dune like the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yep. Probably the reason that those are the first things that come into your mind is because that's what happens to all three of us. With how much we quote Family Guy and Robot Chicken Star Wars episodes on this show, it's not surprising to be the first thing you think of.
I feel like we need to go back and watch the movies more because at this point, those are so ingrained that we've now rewatched the spoofs so much that it's bad that the fake stuff comes into our mind ahead of the real films.
Right?
I'm going to get the chicken outfit with the Boba Fett helmet and stuff and see if I can get it 501st approved.
That's not too bad. Well, AJ, you just mentioned real films, which kind of leads into our topic for the night.
What are those?
Because we now have 2 Star Wars films that could be considered not real because they're not written by George Lucas, but they are real.
If you're a purist, I see.
Yes, if you're a purist.
Star Wars with an asterisk.
Actually, as long as before we get all the way into this, I got one more thing for show and tell. There's no showing because this is an audio podcast, but here. I am drinking during tonight's show. I am drinking a Java the Stout put out by Jackie O's Brewery.
Java the Stout.
Dude, this can art is sweet. It's got Java riding a TIE fighter with a couple of beer cans open up in the air.
It really does look hilarious. I didn't notice the title. When you showed it to me earlier, I didn't notice what it was called.
Yeah, my buddy Chris at work got this for me. He's like, you got to have this for the podcast. And I was like, yes,
all the lasers going through there kind of looks like it's supposed to be a Slayer emblem or something up there too.
It's the cover of a death metal album.
I just love the thought of Darth Vader. Jabba stealing Darth Vader's TIE fighter,
going for a joyride while drinking beer.
Right, flying right through the middle of one of the fiercest firefights in Star Wars history. Like the Death Star's in the middle of blowing up. There's lasers everywhere, and he's just partying, like ripping on through with a couple of opens. He's got road pops.
Oh, Tudor.
And the beer's actually pretty good.
I was going to ask, how is it?
It's a stout.
Ah, nice. Well,
so for you, it would taste like monkey butt.
Yeah, anything but Pilsner is like. But anyways, so what we wanted to bring to the table tonight was a discussion about Rogue One and Episode 7, The Force Awakens, because now that we have two films in the Star Wars canon that are not written, produced, directed by George Lucas, we're starting to see where the Star Wars universe is going after the sale to Disney. And I think there's a lot of positives to both movies. And I think there's also a lot that you can compare between the two. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to bring those two movies to the table and start talking about what they're getting right, in our opinion, what, they could do better, what, things like that. So, and I'll start it off by basically rehashing my opinion of Rogue One, which was easily summed up as, when I left the theater for Rogue One, I loved it, and I absolutely was so into it, and that was the feeling. I was so pumped up after Rogue One. That's what I wanted to feel after I got out of the theater from Episode 7, and I didn't have that feeling. And to this day, I'm having a hard time rewatching Episode 7. I do, but to me, and I know this is not a very popular opinion right now, but even though Episode 7 and Rogue One both have very good reviews among the fans, excellent reviews, really, Rogue One feels much more like a Star Wars movie to me than Episode 7 did. Episode 7, for whatever reason, still feels almost like a glorified EU novel. And I cannot get past the fact that after about the first 45 minutes of the movie, they kind of just note for note kind of rehash Episode 4. So my preference between the movies is obviously Rogue One, because it tells an original story. And I like that. When I go into a Star Wars movie, I want to see something new. And Episode 7 was blowing me back in my chair for the first 45 minutes. And then after that, I was like, but I've already seen this. So it kind of turned me off. Whereas Rogue One was, keeping something going forward that was new. It added to the canon. I don't think that Episode 7 added much except for characters, because it didn't really tell an original story.
So as soon as they introduced Starkiller Base, that's pretty much where it went off the rails for you?
Yeah, I mean, and
onto the rails.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I had a problem with that when I saw the promotion material. I was like, when it was basically announced that Starkiller Base was the new super weapon, I went, it's just a Death Star, just way, way, way bigger.
Yeah, and as soon as that line came up in the movie, I literally rolled my eyes in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, so it's another Death Star. No. Yeah. This is way bigger. Yeah. Oh my God. Come on.
Yeah. It's kind of the perfect description though, isn't it? No, it's a lot bigger. Like,
I mean, really, like they almost made fun of it themselves when Han was like, yeah, but there's always a way to blow these things up. So,
right.
Yeah. It was like the characters were in on the gag. It kind of well, I hate to use the phrase, but it's totally apropos, took me out of the movie.
Yeah. Well, and it's, to me, it was all, I was laughing at that when it came up because I could just picture that being one of the discussions in the Disney story writers room. Like, okay, I got this idea for the new super weapon. Okay. It's a planet that can blow up a whole bunch of other planets. Like the Death Star can only blow up one planet, but this planet can blow up a bunch of planets. Well, isn't that just another Death Star? No, it's bigger. Like,
yeah.
Some guys in the room writing this down, like, oh, that's gold, man. I'm putting this in the movie. Like, that's the dialogue.
If you know your astronomy, you know that the Death Star was confused for a small moon, and a planet is way bigger.
Yeah, yeah, right. They're clarifying it and everything. See that again? That's one of the. I don't think it really added a lot to the saga, except for the new characters. Because I mean, a perfect example is Rogue One. We all know they're going to get the Death Star plans. Okay, we've said before, it's kind of like Episode 3, where how the movie's going to turn out. They get the Death Star plans, but they explained away a couple plot threads and tied things together. Like, it's always been kind of weird, like the whole 2 meters wide, the exhaust port on the Death Star. Like, well, why would they have that? We can just blow it up with a single thing. And in Rogue One, they explained it was put there on purpose by the guy who designed it specifically so that it can be destroyed because he didn't want to do it. And that's cool. That's something original. It's a new idea. And now it doesn't make this like design flaw. It's not a design flaw. It's actually purposefully, willfully put there. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. And sabotage.
Yeah. And Episode 7 didn't really have something like that. So I don't know. And I mean, I love Episode 7. I mean, to defend Episode 7, I will say that I think one of my top favorite Star Wars moments of all time, and it may be number one because I just can't stop. As much as I can't get through the whole movie a lot with Episode 7, I cannot stop rewatching that Millennium Falcon chase through the graveyard of giants on Jakku. That was awesome.
Yes.
The way they brought the Millennium Falcon back into the storyline was so original and so cool. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I got to say, aces to Disney for giving me at least two of my top 3 or 4 favorite Star Wars moments of all time in 2 movies. In the other 6 films, like my top moment in all 6 of the original films is Vader and Luke fighting in Return of the Jedi.
Good choice.
The end battle after Vader finds out by basically reading Luke's mind that he has a sister, and then Luke loses his and goes off on him. That was my all-time favorite moment until Graveyard of Giants showed up. And then Rogue One has a couple actually, but I mean the Vader scene at the end has to be up at the at least top 3 all time.
Number 1.
Yeah. I still can't believe our cousin doesn't like that. Literally
Can
every
we
other
just get like a solid 90 minutes of nothing but that. I would kill for that. Yeah.
I'd pay to see it.
Episode 3.55. I don't care. Just give me
Right?
just give me something. Just make it straight to Netflix. I don't give a crap, dude. Just give me something to throw in there that's nothing but Vader just being an ass and just killing everything in existence.
That would sell tickets.
It would.
There'd be a bunch of fans that would complain, like, this is the dumbest thing. Why'd they do this? And then there'd be people like us going, this is awesome. Like, we would eat that up with a spoon, man.
It's just Vader with a GoPro. Just mauling rebels just left and right.
He's got a couple stormtroopers behind him with drones filming from up above to get the aerial angles and stuff like that.
I'd watch it.
I would too. Yeah,
that thing's filmed like a horrible Blair Witch Project.
That's the thing. Like, we had Graveyard of Giants in Episode 7. We had the Vader scene in Rogue One. So, I mean, that's really cool. I really wish Episode 7 had brought some original storytelling to the table. That's why I'm so excited for Episode 8, because I really hope that they kind of deviate from that. Instead of just kind of like rehashing plot points from Empire, which unfortunately something I read today says that it's kind of they might be ripping off part of Empire, which will absolutely infuriate me. But
okay, I'll give the most non-spoilerish summary of what you told me before we went on the air. The thing that has you upset is that apparently there's scenes of Luke training Rey, which we knew was going to happen
on Ahch-To. And I'm okay with that. I don't care if they're training, but to have the Jedi Master training the new like Padawan on this remote place where no one else knows, and it's like powerful with the Force, like we've seen that already. Why? I don't understand.
But
how
at the
is
same
this news
point,
today?
At the same point, if Rey just shows up, just shows up, just like she's been using Jedi powers for 50 years or something like that, people are going to get all pissed off that we weren't told a story of how she learned all that stuff.
Well,
so
but
it's like people are going to be pissed regardless.
Have it. You don't have to have it on Ahch-To. Have it happen elsewhere. Like they're going to find something, or they're traveling here or there, and they're doing.
They're just going to do it in the middle of Jakku with the
something.
First Order is staring them down the whole time. Of course, they're going somewhere remote where nobody knows where they're at.
Look, man, you agree with me completely that Episode 7 was a Episode 4 ripoff, and you know damn well that if Luke and Rey stay on Ahch-To and they're training, you are going to be in that theater with me going, "That's Luke and Yoda on Dagobah, man."
But I mean, it has to happen though. Like
not there.
Where else would they do it?
Okay, Rogue One proved that you can do it in any other location. You can change up the story. You don't have to do that.
Otherwise, what you're going to have is you're going to have a Rebels problem, which is in the heat of the moment, in the heat of battle, Ezra has to try something for the first time, and lo and behold, he succeeds every damn time.
No, you can have them. You can have Rey get trained, but it doesn't have to be on Ahch-To. It doesn't have to rip off the Dagobah thing.
It's not like they're on Dagobah. You know, they're
okay, but it's not like Starkiller. It's not like Starkiller because Episode 7 already pulled way too much from Episode 4. I don't want Episode 8 pulling from Episode 5.
But of course they would do it that way because the First Order doesn't know where they're at. So, I mean, it's the perfect sense thing. Like, they're not going to go somewhere where the First Order knows the rebels are hiding and do all this training.
Oh, I guess that's a good point. I'm so gun shy.
It is going to be somewhat of a ripoff. I mean, that's where we're left at the way 7 was left off.
I just don't like that the first thing that comes out about this movie is more ripping off of what already came.
And honestly, that's all low-hanging fruit anyways. People are pulling that out of their butts. I mean, we know damn well that Disney and Lucasfilms are not releasing anything except doing it on their own terms, which will probably be in a couple of months of Celebration, maybe, and then leading up. So everything you hear now is pretty much just going to be people guesstimating at it anyways.
Yeah, Disney doesn't want anyone thinking Episode 8 yet. They want everyone to still be in Rogue One land right now.
Yes.
As well they should. I'm going to see it for a third time on Saturday, by the way.
Good, because I actually got some numbers here. I wanted to actually have some sort of like intelligent thing to add to this conversation, so I did a little bit of research. The box office currently
what show do you think you're doing?
I know. I'm sorry. I was bored at work. What can I say?
Come on, man.
According to Box Office Mojo, the worldwide gross right now stands at nearly $919 million. Do you think this movie can hit $1 billion before it leaves the theaters?
Oh, it will. I think it's more than that, by the way, because I think I read it already hit $1 billion. Who knows? I mean, I thought I read that.
I mean, I didn't really think that it had a chance of hitting $1 billion, but when you figure that would still be a 50% drop off from Force Awakens.
Well, you have to expect that.
But isn't that crazy though? I mean, you want to slam Force Awakens, but the movie, a 50% drop off would still result in $1 billion box office.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at $2.2 billion or whatever Force Awakens is at the box office gross, I mean, that's number one of all time. And I did read on here, there's a lot of like side-by-side comparisons of the two movies as far as like different ways of comparing ticket sales. And it's pretty, in most of the categories, it's Force Awakens number one, Rogue One number two. Yep. Yeah. So even the half as successful movie is still more successful than any other movie.
Yeah. But that's my problem with Episode 7. And we've talked about this before, and we'll go into a little more detail about it now. But, you know, the whole low hanging fruit of, well, you know, they had to tell that story in Episode 7 to get the fans back into it. No, they didn't. They did all that business not because the reviews came out and said, oh, well, this is basically like you'll see the same story you saw in episode 4. And people went, oh, I got to see that. No, people went to the theater, one, because it's new Star Wars and people want to see Star Wars, even the casual fans. And number 2, when they heard Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Han Solo were in it, they want to see those characters. As soon as you had those characters, you could do something totally out of the box. And they didn't. Which is why I prefer Rogue One to episode 7 so much, because Rogue One did something different. And that's why if episode 8 rips off episode 5, I'm going to be pissed because Gareth Edwards proved that you can tell a new Star Wars story without George Lucas and make it original, make it tie into what we already know, and it's seamless. Episode 7 does not do that.
I completely disagree with you, by the way.
Go for it, Steve. Get him.
The casual fans needed what episode 7 was.
But they didn't know what they were getting. They didn't know the plot of the story. They went because it was Star Wars. How do you explain that box office? Again,
because it was shoved down your throat for an entire year.
But what was shoved down your throat? The plot? Or the fact that it was new Star Wars with the characters they already knew?
All brand new characters. Everything that came out, every single thing that came out would have Poe, Rey, Kylo Ren, maybe a Chewbacca in it.
Then
but it was always the new characters.
Then why did they announce that Leia, Han, and Luke were in it?
Because they knew that it was going to get the rest of us.
Because they knew that would get all the people to come see it. The fringe fans.
No.
People like you and I would have gone to see it.
We were going regardless. They didn't care about mine and your money whatsoever.
You're making my point for me.
No, I'm not. They
didn't care about us. They didn't care about us. They cared about the people they weren't going to get. So that's why they announced that the old characters were in there. That was the draw, not the story.
That was to get everybody in.
Exactly. That's my point. So you actually kind of agree with me.
No, you're saying that they didn't need to tell that story. They absolutely did. They had to go to the lowest hanging fruit to get everybody on board again.
No. All they needed were those characters, but to rehash a story that's already been out there, they didn't need to do that.
Yeah, they did.
Why?
Because it's the easiest way to go about it. It was the quickest dollar that they could make on it, and that's what they wanted, was to hook you in and make sure that you were going to stay on the line for Rogue One and Episode 8.
Right.
So if they would have went out and told some random ass story that everybody walked out of the theater talking about that thing was garbage, every fish just fell off the line. Which means nobody would have went to see Rogue One. Nobody would have cared about Episode 8. No, the fact that thing made $1 billion shows that was the complete right story to tell. Because if that was garbage,
all right,
that whole thing would have fell apart a month into it.
All right,
it would have fell apart the first weekend after people like us walked out on Thursday talking about this is the worst Star Wars movie ever.
Well, it is the worst Star Wars movie ever already, but
there is Episode 1.
No.
Or 2.
Episode 1 and 2 are better than episode 7.
Wow, dude. Okay, that's huge, and we got to come back to that. But I want to stay on this whole thing of the story that episode 7 told and what movie it needed to be. I get Steve's point.
I can from that perspective, I can see it. To me, I don't think it was necessary.
And I just
you make a lot of sense, though.
That's just you. I just think you're coming not like as an argument thing. I just think we are biased in the way we look at it. We're not my daughter, who really could have cared less about anybody, old character or new, that came into that movie other than Chewbacca. But she came in anyways because she knew I liked the movie. So she wanted to jump on board and instantly went, wow, I really like Rey. I like this. So she's hooked. She's on the line for episode 8. Because she likes Rey as a new character. She could care less about the story. It was just something that was handed to you because it was there, so
yeah,
like I said, like it's bad to say that they didn't care about us, but like I said, I just think we're looking at it biased as opposed to, it's hard to put ourselves in the mind frame of somebody that didn't care about episode 7 until the movie came out, because we were hyped up for a year previous to the movie. Easy.
Three years.
A couple of years.
What day was the sale announced when they said there's going to be a new trilogy? Our excitement started that day.
2012.
I was going to say, it was like 2012-ish or something like that. So, we were excited from day one from the sale, but how many people did they get out of that $1 billion they made that really didn't?
$2 billion.
Yeah, $2 billion.
Couple of $1 billion that they didn't care about it until the movie came out and everybody kept going, wow, this thing's awesome. This thing's awesome. And hype after the movie comes out. So
I guess that makes sense through the prism of the prequels, because they took a chance with episode 1 and told a different story, which I love. And
right,
people crapped
you can't
on it.
hate on them for taking a shot.
Yeah, people crapped on it. So I guess Disney might have looked at that and said, okay, well, when they did a new trilogy last time, they thought outside the box and people kind of crapped on it. So we're going to take the safe road. Hopefully, now that they've seen what success they can have based on Rogue One, now they know they can go off script and make it their own thing instead of just the whole paint by numbers.
And I feel like they're going to. I just think that, like AJ said, you have to show something of Luke training Rey, or it makes no sense when she comes out and actually knows how to use that damn lightsaber next time instead of blindly poking it at Kylo Ren like she did in episode 7.
That part I agree with. It's just the whole, if it kind of mirrors the Yoda and Luke on Dagobah, that's going to piss me off.
And I would, yeah, that's understandable. If you see bits and pieces, you might want to complain a little bit. But if you start to see a lot, like I said a couple weeks ago, that if you know, they don't take a chance and you really start to see the copy again, like I have no argument anymore. It's just
Luke's feeding her dinner and she goes, oh God, how can you stay on this island eating food like this? Oh, come on.
Luke just dies in a bed, disappears underneath a little raggedy bed sheet.
Luke's just huffing around like, I can't teach her.
Tired.
She's got no patience.
Tired I am. Sleep I will.
Right?
It's like, damn it, Luke's speaking in tongues now. What the hell?
It's a totally original story. No, it's not. He's putting pronouns in front of verbs, damn it.
I just want him to get like possessed by like a dark side spirit and slip into his Joker voice.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? They just start combining franchises.
Right.
Yeah, no, I understand that you're going to see
at the beginning after the Lucasfilm thing, you see a DC Comics logo. You're like, what the?
Yeah. Oh, shit. But yeah, no, I understand we're going to see the training thing of it, and I'm fine with that. And you know, the little bits and pieces I've read, you know, just from set pictures saying that they're together a lot, and you know, I've actually read that Luke is like the center of the movie, so which is really cool for me because that's going to be to see, you know, the center of the old you know, trilogies with the center of the new trilogy is going to be really cool for me.
I'm super excited about that because they screwed us out of Luke Skywalker in episode 7. They better give us a ton of him in episode 8 to make up for that.
Are you kidding?
That was great.
With that riveting line he had at the end of the movie and everything that just tied everything together and made you want to see episode 8 that much more.
I have to say that when you go back and rewatch that,
was that a deleted scene, Steve? I don't recall what that line was.
all it was sup.
Was it?
And there it is. That's an Easter egg for our show. But no, I will say this, like when you go back and rewatch that scene with Luke, I thought Mark Hamill did an awesome job. Like, I mean, he doesn't say anything, but on his face, like you see a couple different emotions going through him. And I thought that was cool because you're like, man, he's kind of upset. And then he's like, kind of like, oh no. Like then he gets kind of sad. Like it was cool, man. Like you really see like this is going to be something big. So that was really cool.
And then he's mad because his meals were only portioned out for one for the week, and now
all of his Weight Watcher meals, he's got to split them now.
He's like, now I got to up my Blue Apron subscription.
But no, yeah, I really hope that with episode 8, they see the success of Rogue One and understand that they can start doing something different.
Yeah, the middle of December, when we leave that movie theater, you will hear a very dejected tone in my voice if they really do go and try to copy episode 5 with that. Because I'll literally have nothing. I've been going to bat for this thing for a year, and if they go and low hanging fruit this thing again, and I don't know what the hell I'm going to say.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that's, you know, that's my criticism of the movie is that it's the only Star Wars movie to not take chances. Now that being said, I still think it's a great addition. I mean, it still feels the least Star Wars-ish to me of all 8 of the movies. And I've never quite been able to put my finger on it, but it just doesn't quite fit in with the other 7 movies as seamlessly as I would have liked. Rogue One fits. Rogue One is so unique because it's totally different from the other movies, but fits in perfectly. It's the weirdest thing. But
and maybe it's the fact that you're looking at it as the episode 4 ripoff, or maybe it's the fact that it's a 30-year gap.
I don't know.
Rogue One, you can fit that thing as a real nice piece in between 2 movies.
Yeah.
You still got so much of a gap though between 6 and 7 that
I think
guess
that's a lot of what it is. Remember, that's one of the reasons episode 1 was so poorly received at first. It was because it was such a marked shift from the 3 films that we had previously. And this one, it wasn't a marked shift, obviously, but things are very different. You're seeing these characters for the first time in 30 years, and it's jarring. I mean, they didn't try to make Harrison Ford look younger, they basically let everybody like keep their own hair color. So it's not like, okay, Harrison Ford went gray, but Han Solo didn't. No, they're just like, okay, Han Solo went gray too.
Yeah, right.
Leia, light brown hair instead of dark brown hair, because guess what? Carrie Fisher's hair isn't dark brown anymore.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Man, they made Chewie look younger, though.
They kind of did, yeah.
His hair was beautiful.
He uses Pantene.
But that is the best looking Chewie we've got yet. I mean, they actually gave him fingers.
Looked like the hair was combed back and stuff. Like he was looking good, man.
In the 30 years since Jedi, Chewie's learned to use product.
Yeah.
Didn't they say that they kind of modeled him more after the episode 4 Chewie than, because by episode 6 he almost had like a part down the middle, like his hair was kind of flopping forward a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it is different. Yeah. No, I think you're probably right about my feeling that it's the episode 4 ripoff, because my complaint has always been, and I said it earlier, that it feels like a glorified EU novel. And I always said that I could not get into the EU because it was someone's interpretation of Star Wars. It wasn't written by George Lucas, and it just felt like someone's like, well, this is how I would do Star Wars. And I think that's probably what it is, because it feels like J.J. Abrams was going, well, this is how I would have done episode 4 in a way. I mean, he wasn't consciously trying to rip off episode 4, obviously him and Lawrence Kasdan, but I mean, that probably is what it is. Because it's the same events, just different. And I'm like, I don't need your interpretation, okay? I have episode 4. George Lucas wrote it. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for George Lucas, so don't give me this crap. Give me your own thing. And
I get it too, because even that night in the theater when we saw the premiere, I still had as much as I loved the movie, I still had my moments of, come on, the damn planet splitting in half at the exact point between Rey and Kylo. That's like what, 6 inches between the two of them, and the planet happens to split there. The Star Killer base to begin with, just things like that. That I even sat there. I'm like really, like we're going there.
See, the ground splitting thing didn't really get me, because I mean, I go into Star Wars I just suspend disbelief unless something's completely outlandish. And to me, the whole Star Killer base, like that's the best you could come up with, was just a much bigger Death Star. You had all this time,
right?
You come up with this, and that's what you got. Like, come on, man.
Then, the running gag of Star Wars universe of hands getting chopped off. Now apparently it's the you just missed it with the lightsaber, because I mean they showed it in Rebels.
Yeah,
when Ahsoka hit Vader and it barely skimmed him, and just enough to rip the mask but leave his face in pristine condition.
Yeah. There were so many near misses in episode 7. Like, okay, Finn gets it to the back, but not enough to actually like paralyze him.
Just enough to screw the jacket.
Right, the jacket just tipped the shoulder. That's
just gonna piss off Poe. Yeah. And then Rey, the one good swipe she has with that lightsaber, if she would have been 3 millimeters closer, Kylo Ren's a dead man. But no, now he's just got a cool scar on the side of his face.
Yep. Now, to give some stuff that I thought it got right, and I think both movies got right.
Yeah, we're talking about which one feels more Star Wars. So let's try to figure out what the feels are that we're trying. So what are the good points of episode 7 that make it feel like Star Wars to you?
They both look incredible. And I do, I mean, see, the CG and all the green screen stuff in the prequels never bothered me, because that's what George Lucas does. He pushes the envelope and he does these original things. And you expect that, before a time of major galactic civil war, things are going to be different. They're going to look different. So the fact that it was all glossy and stuff, I didn't care.
Yeah, and you look at the time frame too. You got to watch episode 1 and remember it's 1999.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not 2016 or 2015 for episode 7.
Yeah.
And at the time, no one was complaining about the effects. They thought they were mind-blowing.
Exactly.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, and 10 years from now, we'll go back and watch episode 7 and talk about how horrible the CG was in it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be that much better then, too. So
Yep.
it is what it is. You gotta, like you said, suspend disbelief and just remember when these things came out, too.
Yeah.
That is something that is kind of a demerit on episode 7. I was thinking about that because Star Wars always tries to like push the envelope of effects. And there was a great integration of physical and CG. And I know how much they pushed the physical effects in this one. Even pushing the physical effects to me felt like another throwback to the originals instead of the forward thinking ethos of the entire saga. Usually it's like, hey, here's this brand new thing that's never been done before. And instead of like, remember all the effects that you liked from the first 3 movies? We're doing that again.
Well,
yeah, they did advertise the crap out of that they said we're going to build everything we can build.
And there's more digital in 7 than anything else. That's the most digital of the 7 movies.
To that point. They actually pissed off fans with that finally because they were, I mean, even people that didn't like prequels, I saw a lot of stuff in the last few weeks or month or two leading up to the release of episode 7 where fans, again, even ones that didn't like the prequels, going enough already because they were just going, it's not CG. There's not a lot of CG. It's real. It's real. They were really pounding the fact that it was different from the prequels, and people were like, enough already.
It's going to be on film, and it's not going to be digital, and it's going to be in the...
Yeah, and then the behind-the-scenes stuff comes out, and every shot has something digital in it. Like that, I remember hearing a backlash then when the real making of stuff started coming out, and they're like, wait a minute. Like, BB-8 is a prop, but then you've green screened out the arms that keep him upright and the guy pushing the trolley behind him, and there's tons of CG in this thing.
I've never understood why people give a crap how much CG is anywhere. It's like you're there to watch a movie and a story. Like, who gives a damn how it got there? Like,
Star Wars, of course, there's CG.
Yeah, I don't understand why that matters. Like, I don't give a damn.
They
if
put a
the whole thing
Shar-Pei
is
in a
CG.
giant ball, and that's BB-8 running around the desert. Of course, it's CG.
I mean, like, look at Avatar. Everyone loves Avatar, and that is like the most computerized stuff ever. And no one complains about that. They're just like, oh, it's a great movie.
It's the stigma of the prequels, dude, because those effects are not aging well. And
I disagree.
And they overdid it with episode 2, especially. I think the way they overdid it in episode 2, by the way, because I was listening to some old shows of ours, the way they overdid in episode 2 was just that they tried to do too much with an immature technology. Episode 3 had just as much CG or maybe more, but it was 3 years better than the stuff in episode 2. So I get that, but the I can't point to any one thing in episode 7 that really pushes the envelope more than either the marriage of physical and CG effects or my stupid little nitpick thing of finally lightsabers cast light because they used lit objects on set. So, you know, because I picked this up in episode 3 and it annoyed me, and it still annoys me to this day, that the digital characters are all lit up by their lightsabers because it's digital light, digital character. You can do that. But when it's a physical like actor on set, they didn't have a light source in their hands, so they are not lit up by the blade of their lightsaber.
Interesting. Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I actually never noticed that. But I mean,
sorry to ruin your favorite movie.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I've never understood why. I know it's the stigma of the prequels and stuff, but I mean, you know, who cares how they did it? It just looks awesome. I mean, it's fun to have a cool story like that on the screen. So who gives a damn how much CG is there? But I mean,
and why didn't anyone care about that being part of the hype for Rogue One? They did just as much hyping of, we built this and we got the cameras in there and built 360-degree sets, and those are latex masks, not CG aliens.
Well, I think that's, you know, to the point of what we're talking about is that now that there's 2 movies out there that are not written, created, directed by George Lucas, now we're starting to see what they're going to do, what they can do. Excuse me. And you know, we're starting to see where the Star Wars universe is going to go.
Well, now that we're getting fed a Star Wars movie every year, they're not going to pimp out all that stuff. It was pretty major, you know, with episode 7 because they had nothing else to base it off of. But now that we're getting one every year, you know, it's going to be, you know, old hat to just keep saying every single year, we did the same thing we did the year before.
Right. Yeah. AJ, to your point of, you know, I mean, like the episode 7 didn't really push the envelope. I mean, that's where you see the lack of George Lucas. because that was his hallmark, was on top of trying to tell a cool story and keep the Star Wars saga moving forward, he was always pushing the boundaries of technology and creating new things. Whereas these people now are, they're not interested in that. They're trying to just tell a cool story.
I still feel like ILM holds back the best of their work for Star Wars, though.
Good.
I mean, like I went and saw Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and those effects. The one thing that I would say as damning praise is that those movies blend very well with the Harry Potter films, meaning the effects look like they're about 6 to 7 years old already. It wasn't nearly as seamless as what you saw in Force Awakens or Rogue One.
Well, to my original point from a few minutes ago, that what I did like about Episode 7 was I thought the effects were great, and I really liked how it was original trilogy stuff using modern technology, and the way that they're making like TIE fighters and all that kind of stuff like look real. Like there's that scene of the TIE fighters coming in with the sun behind them, and it's like you could see like the jet trails behind them, and it's it's the same ships that we know, but they look so much more real. It was cool. It was like they were much more grounded in reality. And I love that. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, I think that is what Episode 7 brought to the effects table, was just giving everything a greater sense of reality.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was really pushing the effects envelope or just pushing the realism envelope, which is still new for Star Wars. So there's still new stuff to look at for sure. I mean, just the way the ships moved. I still don't know exactly how they did it, but you notice like even from the first time when Finn and Poe steal the TIE fighter, that thing moves like it's on rails.
Yeah.
Like it moves the way like you would expect if they had actually put a model physically on roller coaster rails or something and like shot that thing off with fireworks and then matted out the background.
Yeah.
Even though it's entirely digital. It's amazing. They made digital stuff look like physical models behaving.
Yeah. I agree completely with that. And I think it looks great. And so as much as I might have my problems with the storytelling of Episode 7, the visuals were absolutely incredible. And along with that, I think both movies, and some people may disagree with me on where Rogue One is concerned on this point, but I think that they did a phenomenal job of bringing new characters into the Star Wars saga and making you give a damn about them right off the bat.
Definitely.
I mean,
definitely.
that's so hard to do when you've got 6 movies and 30 years of history behind it to, almost 40. Well, actually it is 40 this year. Star Wars has been around for 40 years and these characters are so iconic. To bring new characters in and you're actually invested in them and they're, standing up alongside these older characters as like, oh wow, I actually really, really enjoy them and I want to see where their story goes. That's very, very impressive. And I know some people say, well, I didn't really care about Jyn Erso and I didn't really care about the Rogue One characters because this. I thought, for a movie that was, a one-off, I thought they did a great job having to bring together like 7 or 8 new characters. Mm-hmm. And when they died, you might be going, yeah, I guess they kind of have to die. But I think everybody's a party like, aw, man.
And every one of them had a moment before they died where the audience knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And I personally, I had an emotional reaction to it. Like I knew it was coming. There was that moment of suspense before it happened. And I didn't find myself going, meh. I found myself for every one of them still hoping against hope that they would find a way out of it.
Yeah. They destroy K2SO and you're like, oh,
that was
man.
So protracted too. He took the most shots of anyone.
Yeah. And
honestly, I probably felt the worst for K2.
Yeah. What is that, man? The droids always get us.
But yeah, I am one of those people that I can't say I really developed anything with the characters from Rogue One. Not as a bad thing, but I didn't really jump on any of their bandwagons. It's not like when, granted we had 40 years and 4 movies to do it. It's, when in Episode 7, when Han first starts walking out onto that catwalk, you knew what was coming. And yeah, it felt horrible for like that 5-6 minutes leading up to that. But during that scene with Jyn on the beach and stuff, just, you knew what was going on. I'm not going to say I didn't care, but I didn't really feel anything of like being upset that character was going to leave or anything. Like I said, K2 was the only one that got me, and that's because they really crapped on him at the end there.
Yeah.
For a guy that, was pretty much a piece of crap, almost a smart ass through the whole movie.
Right.
Finally doing something legitimate to help, playing the giant Toy Story claw machine. And,
Nice.
But like, yeah, that one felt pretty crappy because the character turned almost and made you feel something for him. You didn't really, I didn't feel that way about any of the other characters though. And I don't know why. I can't really explain why other than knowing it was coming or something. But yeah, I didn't really jump on any of the characters from Rogue One that much.
See,
death scenes, that is.
I would have loved to have seen more stuff with Jyn Erso in it. I thought she was cool. I think it was Jyn and Chirrut Imwe for me. I would Chirrut,
the one that you thought you were gonna hate.
Yeah, I love Chirrut Imwe. I don't know why. He's one of my favorite new characters, and I love that though. See, I mean, that's just proof that that in the new Star Wars universe they can get that right. Because I mean, the showing a guy with a stick, which annoyed me to no end, and even still, that scene, I'm on record as saying, no, come on, like there's like 19 stormtroopers around, they're just going to wait their turn. It's like rebels,
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, he was cool. He didn't really say much, but he was just a really cool new character. And I thought he was a great addition. I was so bummed when he died. I was like, man, that'd be awesome to have him in some other stuff.
Absolutely.
And he was an older character though, so they could do something leading up to.
Don't you almost feel like they need to do a Baze and Chirrut story of some kind? Maybe a book, or I mean, there's got to be.
I wonder
some
if they'll show up in Rebels. They got Saw in there.
Yeah, I don't want them to get too many of the characters in there, because otherwise then it's going to be weird that like they're all in the show but they've never crossed paths before,
Yeah.
But yeah, you were talking about it's so cool that they can introduce new characters into a 40-year-old franchise, and that is definitely one of the strengths, and we totally agree on this. We've said it before. Rey is absolutely all the best things of Star Wars rolled into one character.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she fits in so seamlessly. So you definitely got to put a point in favor of Force Awakens for that one. Just the existence of Rey is like even huge.
Yes.
Even though we know she's going into the next movie, now that was a character that you looked at and you jumped on her bandwagon 20 minutes into the movie. Like you were really into her just instantly, where I said, I don't know if it was the storytelling or what, that I just didn't jump onto anybody from Rogue One that way. But yeah, AJ, you're right. Rey, they wrote it so right to just get you right on that bandwagon ASAP as soon as you saw her on the screen.
And for all the derivative points of Episode 7, Rey's origin and the way she was introduced in the film are completely unique.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. I wasn't quite sure about the whole Maz's castle, and all of a sudden she's hearing crap from downstairs. And I mean, I wish they would have
also new.
Yeah, but I wish they could have done something better with the lightsaber. I mean, it's just like sitting there in a corner, and it's not even that well protected. Yeah, just goes down there, hears voices, and goes, "Oh, there's a box. Oh, there's a lightsaber." Like, come on, dude.
She was drawn to it.
Whatever it is, it was easy to find for anybody if they're just rooting for crap.
Remember what Obi-Wan says about the Force in Episode 4.
I know that, but I'm saying it would have been cooler if Maz had it hidden somewhere.
Sometimes the Force controls your actions.
I know
the Force called out to her and said, "This is what
But
you
I'm
need to
saying
do."
if the janitor walked down the hallway and looked to the left, he'd see a box. So I wonder what's in that box. Open it up like, oh,
it's a bar. Somebody could have just drunkenly stumbled down those stairs and found that thing any old night.
How great would that be? Some guy is all loaded and wanders downstairs like, what the fuck is this? And then opens up the box and comes upstairs like, hey, everybody, I'm a Jedi. Yeah, lightsaber.
And then cuts his own hand off.
Yep, just starts carving people up by accident because he's stumbling.
Have you guys ever seen Scrubs?
Yeah.
I've been watching that again, and as soon as you said janitor, I'm thinking of that specific guy finding the lightsaber and what he would do with it.
Just picture some like goofy drunken alien just waving the thing around like, I'm a Jedi. Yeah,
I'm a Jedi.
That would be fantastic. But
So, I mean, I do get his point on that of, the damn thing the box didn't even have anything stacked on top of it.
Wasn't locked or anything.
Okay, I'm going to defend it for this reason. Maz is 1,000 years old. She's probably got a ton of crap like this. And it's not that, when you've got that much stuff and that many experiences, that one object is not that impressive. That's the whole thing. It was just kind of a cast off. She's like, oh yeah, I've got that.
Maybe she made a lot of them, and there's just she
keeps giving them to people, saying it's calling to them until it actually comes true.
She was trying to sell them on the black market. There was just boxes upon boxes upon boxes of lightsabers down there. That's why Luke looks so damn stupid at the end of the movie. Rey's holding it out, and he's like,
that ain't mine.
The hell is that?
That ain't mine. What the heck?
Made in China on the bottom of it. What are you trying to give it to me for?
Yeah. What is that piece of crap? That ain't mine. Get the hell out of here with that.
Isn't that Pong Krell's or Sifo Dyas or no? Is that Mace's?
Did you get that from Ultra Sabers?
I mean, let's face it. Jedi drop their lightsabers all the time. It's not that uncommon.
That'd be
the
how
first
come we never
line
saw
of
that?
Episode 8 is Luke looking at Rey. Have you ever heard the story of Plagueis the Wise?
And again, I go, oh, come on!
That's John. Spoiler for your review of Episode 8. Oh, come on!
Yeah, that's it. That'll be me coming out of the theater right at the end to be like, well, John, what'd you think? Oh, come on!
The whole movie is just Luke telling Rey the story of Plagueis.
It's like a flashback and a flashback. And then there's me in the theater as the movie's going on. Everyone's wondering, like, what's John thinking? I wonder what John thinks of this part. Oh, come on! Again! Like, I was just yelling at the screen.
Then the credits just roll.
I'm never watching this again for a couple days.
All right.
Would that be awesome?
In D-box.
Hours. Yeah. Wouldn't that be awesome if that's how Episode 8 begins? Like, Rey is holding out the lightsaber to Luke, and Luke looks at her and goes, that ain't mine. Oh, sorry. And then she just walks back down the steps, gets back on the Falcon, and flies away. And that's the extent of what Luke is in the movie. So he's only in Episode 7 for like 30 seconds at the end, and he's only in Episode 8 for 30 seconds at the beginning. And then, of course, the whole theater would be going, oh, come on! They write Carrie Fisher out in like a horrible, like totally like ham-fisted way. Like they have her get injured or something in the movie, and she's on the medical table like passed out. And the original script is supposed to be her waking up and being all heroic, and then all of a sudden they're in the middle of a scene near the end of the movie, and they go, "Hey, where's General Leia? Oh, she died. She's done. She died. And that's how they write her out.
Maybe they'll just put her in carbonite.
Yeah.
And then just leave her there.
There's your Episode 5 callback.
and then in Episode 9, we're back in Maz's castle, and you just see Leia and Carbonite sitting next to the box where the lightsaber was. Forgot the lightsaber, forgot the frozen General Leia.
She's just like, her entire basement is just a mausoleum to the Skywalkers.
Maz's intergalactic flea market. She's got like Luke's Padawan braid that no one knew he ever had. It's one of the things he grew out on Dagobah.
She's got Anakin's original arm.
There's just replica lightsabers and pod racing parts everywhere.
Right. She's just a junk dealer. She's basically Watto, but doesn't say anything. That'd be fantastic. Oh my goodness. But
she actually dug up Shmi's body, and it's like encased somewhere.
The mummified body of Shmi.
Hey, where'd you get that? A good story for another time.
Yeah.
When are you going to tell us already?
Yeah. Oh, come on!
Hey, Luke's going to be out of the movie in 30 seconds. Rey's going to leave, and they're going to find out that Maz is some 1,000-year-old Jedi.
Yeah, the whole story is actually about Maz. And everyone's just all pissed.
That's when the whole theater's going to go, come on.
Like, really? And then they find out that Yoda's her father.
All together now. Oh, come on!
Speaking of low hanging fruit,
right?
But no, yeah, I mean, back to the
She
original
does
point.
look like a shriveled orange.
Yes, she
God,
does.
let's trademark this for Disney tries to steal that.
Right? Peach Pit Canada. But I always thought she looked like a peach pit. She did. She's like orange and wrinkly. It looks like a peach pit, you know? Like, but anyway, yeah, no, the introduction of the Rey character was absolutely fantastic. And I really think that a lot of it, like we said about Carrie Fisher at the beginning of our last episode, just the way that Carrie Fisher portrayed Leia was part of the reason why the character was so strong. I really think Daisy Ridley had a lot to do with the Rey character, because I mean she brought it to life and really made you completely buy into this character.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't want to sound all cheesy and stuff, but it really feels like you've known the Rey character for a lot longer than just the one movie.
That is the amazing part. Yeah, she steps onto screen for the first time, and you already you don't have anything to inform you, but you already feel familiar with her.
Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic character. And I thought, you know, the Rogue One characters I really liked. I can't say as much as Rey because that's almost impossible. But again, Jyn Erso was a really cool character. You know, and, you know, again, the original storytelling with those characters, and instead, you know, telling the Death Star story could have just been, okay, well, there's a bunch of good guys who are going to steal Death Star plans. But they made it different. You know, they took these, they were a bunch of basically intergalactic criminals and vagabonds and stuff, and they kind of stuck together to kind of go against the Empire, which was really cool. And you know,
that is the fabric of the Rebel Alliance. Is it's a true alliance where a bunch of disparate factions all had a common enemy and united under one banner for it.
Yeah. And I mean, and episode 7 did do that as well too, in a way. You know, some original storytelling in it. Again, bringing the Falcon back into it wasn't just like, okay, Han Solo's in the movie and he flies in on the Millennium Falcon. No, the Millennium Falcon was basically in a junkyard, and Rey just jumps on and prays to God the thing flies, and then all of a sudden the Falcon's kicking ass again. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was great. It was great.
I will say, come episode 8, 9, all that stuff, I really hope Disney doesn't try to go with the typical half-assed comedy stuff again. Like,
How so?
It's cool that they put it in some of these Star Wars movies. It seems like they really went too far with episode 7 with some of the random jokes and stuff that were just too easy to get. You know, like the piece of junk, you know, that turned out to be the Falcon, and like
that was fine because that was a surprise reveal. I was okay with that. What gets me is a crap where like Daniel Craig is a stormtrooper. I don't care if Daniel Craig was a stormtrooper, but the fact that the way they pulled off that joke of the Jedi mind trick was such a 2015 way to do humor instead of a timeless sort of Star Warsy way to do humor.
Yeah.
Like the humor on top, I was like the random scene of, you know, when Kylo's losing his mind and the stormtroopers come around the corner and they turn around and run the other way. Like, it was funny to see it, but it seems like they put it in probably like 10 times through the movie when you probably could have got away with like 3. And it just, like, Star Wars always gives you something to chuckle at here and there, but it seemed like they put it in there too much, and I hope that's not a continuation when they move forward, because they didn't do it in Rogue One, but
yeah,
I mean, they tried to with K2, you know, and then trying to drop the 3PO line there, so it's like that was like the one joke that you could really go, ha, like
I got a bad fit. Don't say it.
Yeah,
yeah.
So like that, I get it to an extent, but it just seems like episode 7, there was too, even though we all laughed at that crap in the theater that night, it seems like the more you watch it, you kind of go, like, I think didn't really need to try to shoehorn so much random humor into Star Wars for some reason.
I never thought about that. That never really bugged me. Probably because a lot of it came from Han Solo, and I love Han Solo, so I was
his with Kanja Club and that and the hallway, that was probably the best one. When he's like, yeah, he did it twice. He's like, when was the second?
Yeah, right.
Well, and his banter with Chewie back and forth, that was very throwback, but you know, fitting. Not like,
but like
not overt homage, but just it fit with what those characters did in the past.
Yeah, like, but when Chewie was getting taken care of in the med bay, and she's like, "Oh, you must have been just a brave boy," and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was a little unneeded. It was funny. You know, you see a little bit of,
It was like cocky Chewbacca.
yeah, you
in this
see a
movie.
little bit of, you know, character almost out of Chewbacca instead of just firing a bowcaster and screaming. But so it was cool to see a little bit of Chewie being a smartass, like agreeing with Conja Club. You know, looking at Han, he's like, "Yeah, it's twice, you jackass." Yeah,
Right.
so it was cool, but at the same point, there was just a couple that was just too much inside there.
Yeah, there were a few
see
moments. There were a few moments that really didn't feel like Star Wars in Episode 7, and I think that's like you were talking about earlier in the show how it was so derivative of Episode 4, and I wanted to get on that a little bit. But yeah, they needed callbacks to try to like reset the universe, bring everybody in, and give us a good starting point for the next trilogy. But yeah, they didn't do it in like an organic way. They did it in a hey, remember this kind of way. It was like the producers of the movie were in on the joke, and sometimes even the characters were in on the joke with the audience.
Yeah.
And it didn't really, and that's where I think it missed the mark a lot of times.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I say, for me, I get so hung up in the fact that it wasn't a story that I wanted to see. And again, it just all comes back to I wanted to see something I hadn't seen. And I did in the first 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, there was a lot of personal buildup for 20 years between three. Well, yeah, roughly 20, a little over 20 between. No,
20.
10.
10, yeah, 10.
Yeah, 10. Duh.
2005 to 2015.
I don't know. I was thinking 95 for some stupid reason, but yeah, 10 years, you know, you build yourself up for a decade. And if it's not exactly what you wanted to see, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And I have to say, and I know this is so chintzy, and I admit it, so if people are going to bag on me for this, that's fine. But the main theme just doesn't hit with a bang like the other 6 movies. It came in like...
The audio mix? Really? You're going to go for the audio mix?
I was waiting for it to go wham, and it just was, no. It was like... I was like, okay. And I still watch it. Like maybe I was wrong. And every time I watch it, I'm just like, man, come on, make that louder. The first hit, make it louder. Damn it, the downbeat. It's very small, but it just when that happened in the theater, I was like, come on.
I get it. When we remixed our theme, I thought some of the stuff was lost while others were gained as well. So,
but yeah, I mean, I think my main hang up is just the fact that the story just didn't bring anything original to the table, and that's what I watch Star Wars for. You know, I mean, it's like it's the reason why I love the prequels, and to bring another franchise into it, Indiana Jones. It's why I love Kingdom of the Crystal Skull when everybody hates that movie, because it was a new Indiana Jones story. You know, I don't go into these movies like people are talking about, you know, with the prequels, like, oh, the acting is crap and the dialogue is crap, and you know, the CG is this, and okay, yeah, I mean, you could make those arguments, but to me, when I go into these movies, I love Star Wars and I love the universe, I love the characters, so I'm just looking to see, you know, for a cool new story. You know, it to me, all the stuff about CG and dialogue and stuff, it's almost like if you have like a favorite author and they write a book series, and like the 4th book has a bunch of typos in it. Oh, well, this one sucks because there's, you know, we can't use your, and this. Like, no, the story's still cool. Like, it's an interesting story with the characters that you love. So what, I don't, you know, I mean,
I think that's your main sticking point, because Episode 7 paid very close attention to make sure it looked like Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, it had the graphics, it had the wipes, the iconic shots. I mean, there's a couple that don't even make sense. Like when the TIE fighters are coming into Takodana, and all of a sudden there's like 3 silhouetted against the sunset, even though it's the middle of the day.
I love that. I know it doesn't make sense.
It's a great looking shot, but it's completely out of time with the rest of the shots in that scene. But you're right. Like while it on the surface looks and behaves the most like a Star Wars movie, there's some like deeper level of filmmaking that did not resonate the same way, and that's where Rogue One stepped it up.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird because Rogue One took so many more chances and broke the formula in so many different ways, and yet somehow underneath the surface of it all, it feels to me more like it fits with what we know as Star Wars.
That's exactly how I feel. And I mean, with Episode 7, I think what bums me out is that, like, again, the first 45 minutes, I was absolutely just I was amazed by that movie. I still am. I watch it and I'm like, this is so badass. Like, it is incredible. It was everything I wanted and a ton more. And then all of a sudden, it just started going into the stuff I'd already seen. I'm like, oh man, come on, really? Like, why do you have to do that? And I mean, we've discussed, the reasons why it was necessary. Maybe I've said why I don't think it's necessary, but by the same token, I think that's why I prefer Rogue One, is because Rogue One, it was rolling along. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then you get to the hologram of Galen Erso, and he starts going into the fact that he built in, the exhaust port specifically as a way to destroy this thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that just took the movie from like, here to way up here. I'm like, that is so freaking cool, because it just adds something to it that's so different, but ties in perfectly. And basically all these years when people are going, well, how could they have this hole? How would the Empire not think of that? Well, now that doesn't exist anymore because it's there on purpose. That's cool. That was a new thing that was added to the Star Wars canon that tied things together and brought Rogue One in with Episode 4. It made sense. It really, really did a great job of expanding the thing. Whereas in Episode 7, when it just goes into a rehash, I'm like, that does nothing for it. It's just, all it is, again, it's a cash grab. And that just, I think that's why it depresses me, because Star Wars is so friggin' good. I can't believe my favorite thing in the world has to have a cash grab. And that's just depressing to me. And I completely get your point from earlier, Steve.
It's understandable, but like, I get it. I just look at it as that's just the way these businesses operate in 2015 and beyond.
The way you explained it is perfect, and I completely agree with you after you said that, earlier about, how they had to tell that story, and your point is incredibly valid. And I see that and I get that now. It just
like, it's not even so much that I agree with it. It's just that I know that that's just how these guys operate now. Especially when you just pissed out, $4 billion for the franchise, and you're going to do what you can do to try to recoup that. The fact that they made half of it back with one movie.
Yeah.
They add the merchandise. They made all of it back.
Yeah. So they're good. Now we're in the era of being able to take chances with the rest of this thing.
Yeah. The thing that everyone was doing with Force Awakens, everybody was collectively holding their breaths to see if Star Wars could survive without George Lucas. So Disney had to make a movie that was maybe too fan service or too safe, just to make sure that because if they pushed the envelope too far, they would have alienated people, and everybody was holding their breath to see if it could be done without George. So I see why they had to play it safe on that one. And I see why then, moving on to the next film, they could take more chances. Once they established that they could do it without him, then they were able to push the boundaries with this one. But it's interesting. The thing that I just thought of as you guys were talking was, like, JT, you're saying that the story hit you better for Rogue One than it did for Force Awakens. And again, I get it. But I think the other thing that it does, Force Awakens has to continue an already common story. I mean, it's the saga, and the saga is described as the story of the Skywalkers. So you already are kind of hemmed in a little bit, because you've got to deal with certain beats and certain callbacks. And Rogue One is just this giant connective tissue to everything. So it didn't have the burden of having to call upon things that you already knew. Even right down to, like, think about it, like both movies. Well, actually, I would say both movies have a trench run. There's obviously the trench run in Force Awakens. They actually, go in a trench to get at the oscillator or whatever, the thermal oscillator. And that, to me, I was like, oh God, another trench run. Cause we're already rolling our eyes at Starkiller being another Death Star, and they get at the thing they need to blow up in the exact same way. And then the shield gate and the X-Wings attacking that is kind of another trench run. But for some reason, like just the familiarity or the throwback of it or something, when those ships are diving through all the superstructure, the shield gate and everything, that to me felt just like watching footage that you just didn't get, but you knew felt like already happened in episode 4.
Yeah.
Like something about that, even though it was a different setting and it wasn't a trench, watching those classic X-Wings perform those maneuvers and the way the shots were framed and everything, it just, I was like riveted to my seat going like, I know I haven't seen this before, but I am so thrilled because it's a callback to something I do remember.
Yeah.
For some reason, the callback in Rogue One works for me, whereas the callback in episode 7 doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, and I think one thing that I've always thought, it's like for as much as episode 1 is maligned, when you think about it, when episode 1 came out, you didn't see people going, well, this is an episode 4 ripoff. That just came to light with episode 7 when people were complaining that episode 7 is an episode 4 ripoff. People went back to episode 1 and picked it apart even more and said, no, this is more of an episode 4 ripoff.
And I still don't agree with that at all.
Well, I mean, if you can look at it, and people make good points for it. I mean, if you read the articles about it, the detail, you could see that. But the problem is they had to dig for that, and had episode 7 not so egregiously ripped off episode 4, no one would think about episode 1 ripping off episode 4 because you don't see it, you don't notice it. And I think
that's true. That's true, because we were actually really satisfied with Force Awakens until Rogue One came out, and then we're like, holy crap, this is what they can do now. Force Awakens doesn't seem as great.
See, and while you were talking, I thought of something, and it's like to Steve's point, Rogue One and Force Awakens are basically like a 2-pronged Star Wars experiment. And I hope that they've had so much success now. They've seen that they've had so much success with this that now they can really use it as a springboard to really give us a new Star Wars universe, because
you're not going to be too mad at episode 7 if 8 just blows your friggin' mind like crazy. Then you're going to really sit there and go, okay, I understand why they did 7 now because we got this in 8.
And they could, and I'll finish my point in a second, but to your point of that, Steve, they could bring stuff up in episode 8 that totally changes how a lot of the stuff in episode 7 that looks like a ripoff, things in episode 8 could explain that stuff away and make it different, which would be really cool.
Like Rogue One did with the exhaust port. There's things that they can tell that you'll go back and go, okay, now it makes more sense.
Yep, exactly.
And by having a story group mapping out all the stories, that it was intended that way from the start instead of George Lucas, who was just adding twists as he went to try to explain things away.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I really see it as like a 2-pronged experiment after having discussed this for a while, in that, episode 7 was, as you've said, Steve, they had to bring the fans back in. So basically episode 7 was making sure there was still a monstrous audience for Star Wars movies, to make sure this was still, this was still a viable franchise. They're going to make money on it. And once they were sure there was a fan base, then Rogue One was that first chance to go, okay, if we tell something completely outside of the box, will this fan base that's there, are they going to buy into something that's totally out of left field? So they established there was still a fan base, and then they established, if we're going to go off of the Skywalker saga and tell a completely brand new Star Wars story that is like nothing anyone has ever seen, are people going to pay to see that too? And I think they're both so successful.
And it did, because if you look at the numbers for like the highest grossing Disney movies, episode 7 is obviously the top of the list, but Rogue One, I think their surprise ended up at like 6th or 7th, and it's still making money right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're putting that up there with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, with the Avengers films, with episode 7, the fact that they got that much money off it, like you just said, they know, from now on, if we choose to, we could go completely batshit left field and people are still going to show up and still give us our money. And
Well, I think the reason people were willing to buy into Rogue One is because it was a story that was already alluded to in the episodic content. So this is where it's going to be interesting with the other standalone movies, because Rogue One you knew existed as a story already. It was said in the opening crawl of episode 4 that they just scored the first major victory. So telling that story is like, all right, that's already been signed off on by official classic lore. Now they're going to move into the territory of, you never knew these stories existed in the first place. Let's see how the audience buys into that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's true, but with Rogue One, the way that they arrived at the end point was totally unique. And again, back to one of our original points, it's completely different from the other 7 films, but fits in seamlessly. So it was their attempt to go completely outside of the box, and it's been a massive success.
Yeah, and Disney's given you just enough to sell it. Just like you're getting Han in the other standalone movie. You knew you were getting Vader. Even in a small role, you knew you were getting Vader and you were getting Tarkin in this one. So they're giving you just that little bit, to that you
right.
So they're not completely getting you on this whole brand new story. There's still that little bit that they know they could sell you on with some legitimate old school Star Wars to make sure you're coming in, but give you the left field story with it.
That's why it's so cool, the potential for episode 8, because again, having Luke and Rey as like the main focus of the movie, if Rey hadn't have been such an incredible character in episode 7, this would just be another Luke Skywalker movie in a way. But it's not going to be, because you have this iconic Luke Skywalker character, but you're so invested in Rey that it's like a 50-50 thing. It's like you really want to see what happens to her too. Whereas if Rey was just kind of like, people, like you said, you don't really care about Jyn Erso, Steve. Imagine it was like Jyn Erso and Luke Skywalker. You'd go into that movie like, all right, whatever, Jyn Erso. Let's get to Luke Skywalker. But that's not going to be the case,
right?
Which is awesome.
Like, honestly, the only thing I can think of, and I just thought of it while you were talking, the only thing that I think can really aggravate people with episode 8 is if they dwell too much on anybody else. If you get too much Finn or too much Poe Dameron, but not enough Luke/Rey, that people are going to get a little aggravated with that one. I think that that's probably the main want of Star Wars fans right now, is to just get that Luke and Rey thing and some type of conclusion with Kylo. I still don't feel like too many people really give two craps about Finn, and maybe a little more about Poe. I said it the day of that movie that I thought he was a throwaway character, and I walked out of that theater going, I like him.
Yeah.
Like, he's the best damn pilot there's Rebels, they've ever seen, and he's a cool character. Like,
He's the new Wedge Antilles. He's a non-force wielder, X-wing pilot who is really good at his job and just kind of like does it in the background.
See, I wasn't going to go
he's
there.
Better than Wedge. No one ever said that Wedge is this amazing guy. He just happened to survive all the time.
I wasn't even going to go there. I figured he was almost filling the shoes, very big, not going to do it shoes of a Han Solo type character.
I was going to say he's like Wedge Antilles mixed with Han Solo.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wedge, what if Wedge Antilles wasn't this great hero? What if he just stayed on the fringes of the battles and like just shot at stuff, but was never really in there? He was just like like a galactic chicken. He had a big yellow streak, and he was just standing on the outside like, I'm shooting things, guys. I got him. Hold on.
Okay. I was actually
my looks are no good. I gotta go.
Yeah, it's like Top Gun. It's no good.
It's no good. It's no good.
I will fire when I'm goddamn good and ready. You got that?
No, I was actually listening to another Rogue One review, and they kind of pointed that out. Like, when you see like all these pilots that are just dying by the droves over Scarif, and then fast forward like 2 hours into episode 4, and then they're assaulting the Death Star. It's their last ditch effort to not all be destroyed. And he gets like an engine taken, and he's like, I can't stay with you. Get out of there, Wedge. You're doing no good back there. Sorry. Like, no one flies off to save their skin. Everyone crashes into the Death Star in a blaze of glory. No, there is no living for tomorrow.
No, and how the hell did he get away too? Like, well, how did he limp away?
Right,
from
he's getting
that
shot at. I've played Battlefront enough times to know as soon as you get shot, you don't stop getting shot.
Yeah.
No, you do. You're just really bad at that game.
His R2 unit, get a little white flag popped out of his head as he's flying away, and there, all the Empire was like, whoa. Not that guy. Leave him alone. He's out.
Right. It's like in paintball where you get shot and you just like put your hands up in the air and walk out with your gun up in the air.
Right.
See, I'm out. But I'm out, everybody.
It's like a Nerf warrior. I'm out of darts. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. I got to reload.
AJ already explained it though. Like, Wedge, he gets one engine shot. He's like, I'm out of here. Like, what you don't hear is in the other ear. They get Luke and Winter, get out of there, Wedge. You can't do any more good back there. And the other ear, it's, hey, Wedge. We lost like 8,428 pilots over Scarif. We've got 17 of you left. Get your ass out of there because we're almost out of planes, you dick.
Right. And then the of course inevitable follow up over the comm comes in. Oh, come on!
That's from Red Leader.
Like he gets to go home. Oh, come on!
Exactly.
Little Porkins looks on in disbelief and then gets shot.
That's how Porkins did get shot. What the hell? He gets
I'll have to go back and watch. Did he die before or after?
He died before. Porkins was the first one to die, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the first one?
Good excuse to rewatch it, I think.
Yeah, right.
So he's everything's happening over Scarif, and he's just slowly taking off.
Yeah, he meant to be at Scarif. He just couldn't get there.
He finally limps his broken down ass X-wing to the fight. He just gets shot.
Porkins' X-wing is like the equivalent of a 76 Gremlin.
He's like that guy that comes in at number 30 at the Royal Rumble and promptly gets thrown out while his music is still playing.
He's Bushwhacker Luke.
I was gonna say he's the Bushwhacker guy. See, all the pilots that were fighting the Battle of Yavin are actually the ones that were late. they weren't like they weren't different pilots. It was just, all right, there's a briefing to fight over Scarif and attack the Death Star at 0200 hours, and like 20 of them showed up at like 0230, and everyone's gone like, all right, send them to the Death Star.
They're trying to leave, and one of the blast doors wouldn't open, so like 15 of them had to stay behind for like an extra 20 minutes.
Open the blast doors. Open the blast doors. I can't, you ass.
They just got that old school pull chain on the side of the door that you had to pull it for like an hour, and the door goes up like 6 inches.
It was Chopper just fucking with him.
Right? What the hell is that little thing?
Where did the little orange bastard come from anyway?
What the hell is Rebels? What the Buckethead?
General Syndulla, your droid is an asshole.
Oh, we just explained away the Rogue Squadron over over the Death Star. They're all the potheads. All the pilots over the Death Star were all the potheads. They were all stoned and they missed everything. Like, hey man, we're here. Ah, crap. All right, you guys are going over the Death Star. That's the real dangerous mission. You guys are going up there. Oh, far out, man. Damn. All right. R2, let's go, man.
Rogue Squadron sounds a lot better than Leftover Squadron.
Or they're just the crappy fighters. Like, all right, we really need to get these plans. So take all the good guys and give them to Scarif. Who are the shitheads of the bunch? These guys? All right, well, send them to Yavin. Like, that's the thing. What they should have shown? The rebel pilots on Yavin are actually the asshole family from Spaceballs. They just turn to the camera with their eyes all crossed, like, I can blow up the Death Star. I can shoot one down the exhaust port.
That's how they had such an easy time focusing on a small exhaust port that was only 2 meters wide.
Both their eyes are pointed to the middle.
That was their entire field of vision.
The exhaust port was actually like 20 meters wide, but to them it looked 2.
Right.
It's like the cockeyed squadron. They're all like looking all these goofy different directions. That's what they were. All those pilots were the ones that had like a defect.
That's why they're all wearing helmets.
Take that guy with palsy and go ahead and attack the Death Star. No, I'm not making fun of people with palsy. I'm just saying it'd be funny if the rebels were completely heartless and just have no compassion. Just sending all the crappiest like pilots that they have just to wipe them out over the Death Star, praying that one of them could just hit the button at the right time.
It's
and
like
blow
the South
thing
Park movie, but instead of racism,
that's actually the subterfuge. Right. Like the Empire, like all
it's
the Imperial
like first
Academy.
wave, raise your hands, and like you said, it's all the it's all the people whose eyes are looking one at you, one at the fire extinguisher on the wall to the left.
That's the real plan of the Empire, is all those like Imperial pilots that escape from and turn coat from the Academy to go to the Rebels. They're actually like the burnouts of the whole group, where the Imperials are like, let them go. Let them think they escaped. Let's load up the Rebel ranks with a whole bunch of rejects.
That's what it is.
Easier.
The Rebels just accidentally got good.
Like, that's where the whole Tarkin plan with the tracker came from. Are they away?
Thank God.
Yeah. That's actually why Wedge was able to defect. They're like, good, get him out of here.
And obviously, the Empire didn't lose them all, as shown by the escape pod with there's no life in there. Let's just let it.
Hold your fire. There's no life forms aboard. What, are we paying for lasers now?
Nice.
So, yeah, obviously, all of them didn't drop out of the Empire. Some of them got raises and bonuses because the rest of them dropped out.
Right.
This guy's like, wait a minute, I'm getting promoted to general just because everybody else left?
Sweet. The last guy that got promoted to general because Vader killed the other guy. I'm getting off easy on this one.
I say that's how Piet climbed the ladder.
Yeah, right. All right, well, I guess we will end tonight's show with that right there.
Did we actually ever reach a conclusion on our topic?
Nope.
I think
Do we ever?
No, we not really. No.
Okay, so let's recap real fast before we wrap this one up. We say that episode 7 did the job it needed to do and looked like a Star Wars movie,
But didn't tell the story we wanted it to.
and Rogue One gave us the story we wanted in a surprising way, and that's why we feel at this point, now this is without the context of the rest of the trilogy, but at this point we feel like Rogue One is the more satisfying movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
All right.
So there we go. Nice summation. Nice. So thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode. We appreciate it. I'm your host, JT. You can find us at all the usual places. We are at our website, at Nerf Herder Council. We've got our Facebook page. We are on Twitter, at NHC Podcast. You can catch us on Ear Peeler. We are back on the Uncontrolled Noise Network, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play. We have our YouTube page. And you can send us an email, feedback at nerfherdercouncil.com. Call and leave us a voicemail at 440-987-WARS. So give us a call.
9277.
Yes, 9277. Unlike me going 9722. So yes, 440-987-WARS. 9277. And hopefully you guys are having a good time listening to the show. We're still hoping to get to Celebration. We're still waiting for that link to go up for us to apply. But, we'll see what happens as that comes. But anyway.
We'll just send them our hot new mixtape, right?
Yeah.
That'll get us in.
Right.
We're proficient in dank memes, and here's our mixtape. It is straight fire.
I don't even know what any of that means.
Right.
Napoleon Dynamite. I don't understand a word you just said.
So what do you think? Do we keep the Spreaker Live experiment running for another week?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. So as long as we don't have any wacky stuff like interviews or something that would be like on Skype so no one would hear it on the live feed, we'll just do it for now, I guess. Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah. So if you guys want to actually interact directly with the show, we've got a live chat section with all of our 45-minute previews. So we'll toss out the show topic the day of when we're recording. So stay up with us on Twitter. Stay up with us on Facebook. We'll post all the details of that, and then tune into our Spreaker page, and you'll get 45 minutes of the show before it comes out in its finished form.
Judging by all the zeros I saw on the one we did today, A+.
Nice.
Hey, no one complained.
Yeah. See?
that's true.
Everybody
Silver
who tuned
lining.
in loved it.
Yeah, there it is.
Silver linings.
Thanks again for checking out a new episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I'm your host, JT, at Dog Pound Jedi. He's AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
He's Steve.
At JSteve1005.
And we'll see you next time.
This bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie? Hell yeah, you my Nerf herder. You my Nerf herder.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, we compare Rogue One with The Force Awakens. Which one feels more like Star Wars? And what did they get wrong? And what did they get wrong? Oh, come